Well, hello there, and welcome to the candy wallpapered upstairs hallway of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elvers for March 23rd, the day of curiosity. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representational image of the day of curiosity. We have what appears to be, what could it be? It looks like a compass and an egg of some sort, ostensibly gold, though it could just be a brown egg, all right? Or perhaps maybe even wood. All right, that said, does that pique your curiosity with regard to the egg there? Who's to say? All right, that said, visual representational images aside, does that speak to the day of curiosity? I don't know, but not altogether all too important. A lot of times these visual representational images are a little bit enigmatic. That said, I just like folks to kind of see what's on the page in front of me, what's going on off camera if you like. But what is important around these parts is that it's March 23rd, and hence it's somebody's birthday. So if it's your birthday today, just wishing you a happy birthday. That's what's important around here. That said, if this video finds you late, hey, I hope you had a happy birthday in that circumstance. That said, a lot of times people like to drop in randomly, see what's what, just curious about what's going on the day, or more ideally, they like to celebrate, and that's why you're here. So if that's the case, I just want to say hello, welcome, and I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I dive in with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that is roll some dice. That's right, this is the Diecast birthday broadcast when I'm not dropping the things, so I like to live up to the namesake. That said, if you've been here before and you know the deal, hey, just skip ahead in the chapters there. That's what I put them in there for. I'll just be here rolling dice, because I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. And here I rolled a 6 and 5, 4 and 11. Now, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, my friends, as I hear it told, the universe or the higher powers that be will oftentimes put things in our path to help us manifest our goals or realize our aspirations. But as we're getting on through this life, a lot of times we got the blinders on to kind of what's going on around us. Not to say we don't necessarily notice things going on, but hey, we might not lend them a lot of credence if we are looking for them. That said, how are you supposed to know when the universe is putting things in your path if that's the case, all right? Let alone take advantage of them. So this is a little bit of an exercise to start identifying as much, at least taking the steps in the right direction. But we need a kind of sign to help us kind of identify the things the universe is throwing at us. So what could that be? That's right, your daily numbers, a mutually agreed upon sign between you and the universe. So you can't help but hopefully notice. That said, you don't have to go with the numbers that I rolled for you. The intention is there, but it is probably ideal you take a set of your own dice if you're interested in trying this out. So you can ascribe directional values to number sets, as well as time limits with which to go in those directions. That said, once you've established all that, hey, pick some place near and dear to your heart, or maybe some place you haven't gotten out and explored before, and then set out. I often like to pick the town square, so let's stick with it, all right? But once you get out there, wherever your location is, get those blinders off and start soaking everything up like a sponge, all right? You never know, the day might start to take on a little bit of a theme outside of your numbers there. Take the visual representational image there, your compass and your golden or brown egg. Maybe you just start seeing things like that lining up in your day. It might not necessarily be the real thing either. You might start seeing eggs, in nests or whatever the case, but maybe you start seeing imagery of as much on advertisements, sides of bus benches, billboards, murals on the sides of buildings as you're getting on. Who's to say? But again, the theme can be anything, so you have to be eagle-eyed about as much. It might not be the egg and the protractor, all right? Or I think it was a compass. That's right. So in any event, this first leg of your journey, maybe you get out there with your directional value and your time limit. Maybe you're not seeing anything, all right? Just take a step back, compose yourself, look around, see what you see. You might notice something small, like you're on old 56th Avenue or 11th Street. Hey, you never know, but I would say that would stand as an example of being on the right path, all right? That the universe is with you, all right? It's kind of taking the wheel and driving, if you like. So roll yourself your values again, set off once more. Maybe at the end of this particular time limit, you find yourself in front of a building. It just so happens to have those numbers in the address, all right? Go on in there, see what you see, assuming it's not locked or it's a little bit more of a precarious situation, like, I don't know, what looks like a drug den perhaps, but maybe it does look like a drug den, all right? And then maybe you rolling the dice because you're a gambler. I don't know. go, or at least the appearance of one. And you go, maybe there's an egg on the door too. Oh, hey, there you go. The signs are all coming together, even though it seems like a precarious situation. Got to go on instinct, all right? You leave, you don't. It's up to you. But that said, in this example, we're going in. What do you see? Boom. Hey, you know what? Maybe it's an egg shop. They just purchased it and they haven't got around and not making it look like a drug den out front. All right. I know that sounds pretty harebrained. But who's to say? Stranger things, right? Maybe the person behind the desk asks you what they can get you today. Some of the brown eggs, some of the white eggs. You ask them if they got wood or gold. And they're thinking, what are you talking about? And you're like, sorry, just a little joke there between me and some dude on the internet. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, hey, I'm not in the market for eggs, just to be transparent. I'm just here rolling dice. Maybe show them this video. I'm trying to stack up some synchronicity to see what the universe has in store for me. Again, they're apt to think you're some loon off the street. Maybe show them this video and they're apt to maybe understand that you're not all out to lunch. It's just me, all right? And maybe something even more surprising happens. Maybe it turns out it's their birthday too, all right? And I know that sounds even crazier, but hey, sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. And if it's something like that, it happens to you, hey, you know what? Now you're going to see the kind of magic that can happen out there if you start lending yourself over to the universe driving, all right? That said, maybe this individual realizes that nobody's going to be coming into their drug den / or at least reformed drug den to sell eggs. So maybe they close up shop and they join you on the journey, all right? And if that kind of thing happens, what's great about that? The more people who are focused on the same thing, it is said it's apt to beget greater results. So they join you on your journey. Maybe you just start stacking up even more coincidences, more numbers, more themes, eggs. Who's to say? Or whatever the theme may happen to be. I think you get the idea. So get out there, let the universe blow your hair back. It's one thing I can wish for you on your birthday, amongst many that will come, all right? That said, let's get into the read. I think you get the idea. Your month is March, your day is the 23rd, your sign is 1 to 3 degrees Aries of the Pisces Aries Cusp, one of the final days of it. And your quality and element is Cardinal Fire. All right, let's get into it here. March 23rd, the day of curiosity. People born on March 23 seem to be curious about everything, but their investigations into what they find around them usually come down to the most fundamental events, thoughts, feelings, and ideas concerning existence. Questions of life and death, youth and old age, and basic human emotions are of the greatest interest to them. And their approach to life is principally scientific, although they may or may not be scientists themselves. They are constantly digging, probing, and testing what they come in contact with. March 23 people will not accept any concept or idea until it has been tested, and will not advise others if they lack the facts to make a highly educated guess or suggestion. They themselves make determinations about life based simply on what they observe. Consequently, they themselves are difficult to fool, and since their decision-making process is informed by the hard bedrock of experience. On the other hand, their perceptions culled from such experience tend to become cherished and reluctantly abandoned. And those born on this day may be rather stubborn insofar as they will not want to give up a theory, no matter how much evidence is presented against it. And once something has been proven true for them, they tend to cling to it. And those born on March 23 are extremely versatile and can make friends with people from the most varied walks of life. They are not afraid of taking risks, but must beware of the lure of gambling for its own sake, whether in the casino or in the still more hazardous world of everyday life. Nonetheless, March 23 people have a strong physical impulse, which should be expressed, even when occasionally involving danger. And although they usually stick to more traditional areas of exploration, they may also have an attraction to strange circumstances or people which come their way. This is simply a projection of their own highly unusual nature, which so often remains unrevealed to the world. And those born on this day generally manifest an interest and a love for children, even if they themselves are childless. But this is not to imply that March 23 people are particularly childlike, fanciful, or playful. Their approach to children is, as with most areas, basic, scientific, and effective rather than subjective or emotional. And despite all their numerous areas of investigation, human beings remain the prime concern of March 23 people, particularly where development is concerned. And again, this interest is primarily scientific rather than being a search for warmth or for comfort. Therefore, those born on this day may be taken up with learning about others, yet remain largely self-centered in their personal lives. They may also be mistaken for gregarious personalities when they are, in fact, just curious. All right. Not the most particularly well-rounded birthday, though they did dive in on the theme of curiosity and really expand it out and flesh it out if you like. That said, I just like to make mention of that because ever since back to the beginning of Capricorn, these birthday readings have been very hyper-focused. And I say that to say they don't necessarily examine your relationships too much, being a parent, being in a relationship, etc. And here they didn't really make mention of that too much either. That being said, I thought it was a very captivating, interesting day with the things they came up with, especially how they fleshed out the theme. That said, I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I like to provide a little bit of a commentary, kind of go into the things we talked about, what I found interesting, what lines up with the period at large, the book in general. I mean, who's to say? We got to dive in the notes, so let's do it. Here we go. Let me get on the right page, though, for you here. The March 23, the day of curiosity. You're said to be curious about everything. All right. The investigations you undertake may ultimately come down to fundamental philosophical concerns. So even if the figurative egg is brown or wood, all right, you're trying to discern what intrinsic value could be comparable to gold. All right. Romantically speaking, at least. All right. See, that said, the reading claims that your approach is largely scientific and empiric, or comes from experience, to the extent that you won't advise others unless you have something verifiable to discern, all right? To the extent I said that. So perhaps such romantic concerns or ways of looking at things largely fall flat for you. But I would argue there is still a bit of this romantic angle that's baked into your essence to that end. All right, such a passion for satiating your curiosity in like a purist way. I would say that borderlines on romantic. Even when you aren't necessarily a scientist, the reading said, and I'd argue, it isn't necessarily objectively qualifiable. All right, to say there may just be some emotion attached to being that kind of objective. All right, oxymoronically. So that's why I say it's romantic. All right, there's like a passion that's kind of ensconced in you to get out there and learn about the world. But waxing philosophical aside, or at the reading claims that you can be stubborn when it comes to work, but personally be versatile when it comes to making friends. Finding people of different and varying stripes, if you like, which probably again owes to this curiosity on like a fundamental level. Interestingly, the reading claims that you're not afraid of taking risks, all right, but warns of gambling for its own sake. Whether it's just in a generalized warning or made mention due to some other reason more specifically, isn't necessarily said, but such things are rarely mentioned in the book specifically, or on a whim if you like. So maybe take note and assess that for yourself. But maybe, however, it's just part and parcel considering that you're purportedly drawn to strange circumstance and projecting what the reading calls a highly unusual nature. And I would say gambling, after all, is fundamentally aimed at defying convention, all right? It's to say how things are usually acquired. So you're out there bucking convention and maybe curious about the whole process, or if you're going to land on black or red, right? So leaving it up to the powers that be, right? The reading culminates by relating a love for children from a scientific approach, which, when considered in concert with an interest for human development, I would say makes a certain kind of highly unique sense. But even without mention of certain self-centered nature, there did seem to be a bit of a disconnect with people, and that are mostly in your life to be studied. Interestingly. Maybe that's not the case for you. That's just kind of how what the feeling I got from the breakdown. But it seemed to be what was kind of written in between the lines there, if you like, if not particularly direct. No judgment either way on my part. You wouldn't be the only one if that was the case, I would argue. All right. But very fascinating day regardless, taking all these things into consideration. And like I said, particularly hyper-focused on the theme of curiosity. Sometimes these themes are otherwise a little more buried into the lines. We have to try to figure out what words they use. So that curiosity for sure runs through it. That said, that's kind of what I had to say about the breakdown. Hopefully it gave you some kind of, I don't know, different perspective on things that were kind of conveyed, or maybe kind of drew it closer into understanding, hey, this does apply to me more than, say, the birthday breakdown made it seem like. Who's to say? But in any event, let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right. Those born on the 23rd of the month are ruled by the number 5, as 2 plus 3 equals 5, and by the planet Mercury. And those born on March 23 may not only be somewhat nervous or high-strung, mercurial, it says in parentheticals, but also particularly energetic due to the influence of Mars, which is the ruler of Aries. Number 5, people change their areas of interest with bewildering rapidity, but are rarely bored, as even the most ordinary of subjects holds a fascination for them. And they collect facts and explore things to the last detail. And any month, the 23rd day is one of happening, but this day at the beginning of the sign of Aries produces people both electrically drawn to excitement and capable of radiating it. Very interesting. Not just the subject matter, but also the fact this was highly personalized. A lot of the times it's pretty boilerplate. They'll change facts in and out, but if they have to kind of relate something that is wholly new, I would say, they gotta personalize it. And they did that here in no small part, rather large part, in fact. So let's dive into it, see what I had to say. All right, here we go. The number 5 in the speedy planet Mercury, that's usually said to represent quickness of thought as well as change. But here they related being high-strung and somewhat nervous, which, as it turns out, is a little bit of a common through line for this Pisces-Aries cusp period. The latter part of Pisces as well, Pisces 3 if you like. Probably comes down to the Mars-Neptune dynamic that's in the mix there, I would say. This mention of changing interests and focus regularly is a common trait with Mercury folks in no small part. But I don't recall it being mentioned all too often in this particular way. So it might be somewhat specific to you, especially if being electrically drawn to excitement is true. With regard to the cusp, Mars is said to be an aggressive planet with its god of warlike energy. It's like also a driven force, all right? While Neptune is the planet of dreams, visions, illusions, higher ideals, as well as romanticism, all right? So a stark contrast of traits. But considering the nature you're said to possess, this driven curiosity, the likes of which I argued was romantically faceted, I would say it makes a lot of sense that that's how this particular day is realized when all of those different dynamics come into play. Mercury, quickness of thought and change, Neptune, romance, higher ideals, and then Mars with the aggressive, driven attitude. Everything's coming together to realize what was conveyed in the breakdown. I would kind of argue it seems kind of to make a lot of sense in that respect. But who's to say? Maybe it falls flat for you. I don't know. But that said, maybe you just got to change your perspective a little bit. And, oh, it does line up in certain ways. I don't know. Once again, who's to say? Flavor to taste, all right? And that said, that's been your numbers and planets. Hopefully I imparted a little bit more context for you with regard to the different powers of the respective planets. Which one may have more influence over you? ostensibly, who's to say. But let's move on to your tarot. That's right. It's one of the more eclectic of the New Age metaphysical ideologies. But hey, it's here in the book. Let's see what it has to say. Oftentimes, it will line up, it almost inform the breakdown. Other times, it follows kind of flat. All right? Let's see which one you get today here. The fifth card of the major arcana is the Hierophant, an interpreter of sacred mysteries who is symbolic of human understanding and of faith. His knowledge is esoteric and he has authority over things unseen. Unfavorable traits conferred by this card are self-assuredness, absence of doubt, and proper interpretation. Unfavorable traits are moralizing, bombast, and dogmatism. All right. This was a copy-paste job compared to the numbers and planets. That's right down the line with the Hierophant here for you. But let's see what I had to say. Let's see if we can make it line up. The Hierophant, or the priest in more conventional terms, all right? The interpreter of sacred mysteries, human understanding as well as faith. And with a drive for understanding through experience, I would definitely argue this esoteric angle with regard to knowledge could be understood in your case, or curiosity, if you like. Favorable traits of self-assuredness, absence of doubt, and proper interpretation speak right to the breakdown as well, I would argue. All right. That said, mind the moralizing as well as the bombast. All right. You start telling people in no uncertain terms how things are, especially in moral respects. Even if it happens to be the case, all right, they're probably not going to be apt to listen to you, okay? So a rather apt card for the day, I would argue, drilling down on the knowledge and figuring things out, curiosity, getting out there, experiencing the world, your empiricism, if you like. I say it all dovetails very nicely with the card, and on the days, it sometimes, like I said, kind of falls flat on its face. It serves more as an example for the person to live up to and doesn't really speak to who they are. But for you, I would say, in no small part, it does. All right. That said, that's been your tarot. Let's move on to your health. All right, let's get it. Let's get into it, rather. All right, here we go. Although March 23 people may display little concern for their own health, reading and studying will have at least informed them about what is best for human beings in general. The problem is getting them to apply this knowledge to themselves. They should always be appealed to on an objective, rational ground. If made to see how a healthy approach to living will improve their ability to work or to study, then they may well adopt it. If not, forget it, it says, because of their relentless, obsessive curiosity about the nature of how things work. March 23 people may be prone to mental fatigue. Anything that those born in this day can do to ground themselves to, say, sex, sleep, or athletics, that's mentioned in parentheticals, is in general a good idea. All right, you gotta get grounded, apparently. All right, hey, what did I say about your health? Let's dive into it here. I had to write some stuff in the book to carry on, so let me get things adjusted here, and let's dive into the notes. All right, you're said to show little concern for your own health. All right, despite your curiosity keeping you abreast of useful information. The reading claims you essentially have to be kind of goaded or fooled into being interested with as much, all right, before you dedicate any kind of time towards it, which is the first time I've run across such a dynamic in this book, as far as I can recall. It's kind of a little bit of that Dale Carnegie, winning friends and influencing people kind of energy. You got to fool yourself into doing the things you don't want to do or create some kind of false excitement for it, all right, and then you start maybe actually buying into it. Who's to say? But that's kind of what it sounds like to me. Your restless curiosity may also tire you out, it sounds like. So, that Mercury energy, speediness of thought, and quickness of change and such, a lot of these Mercury folks, they just keep on going, keep on going. For you, I would say Neptune comes into a little bit, maybe saps a little bit of that energy. So you get tired. You know, it's a lot of times the tiredness aspect isn't mentioned for Mercury folks. So I assume plenty of rest is essential, and it's pretty part and parcel for a Neptune day as well. A lot of the times when people are heavily influenced by Neptune, it's mentioned that they need a lot of sleep. There was one person who said they need at least 10 hours a night, and I was like, how are they drilling down on that? But That's what they wrote. Also, oftentimes it mentions they need their dream time for their dreams and illusions. All right. So who's to say? Maybe that applies to you as well. A bit surprised that there was no diet or exercise mentioned for you specifically. That's usually pretty boilerplate as far as how they structure the health entry. But I would say it makes for a rather anomalous entry. That means they personalized it for you. But there are grounding suggestions kind of that are cooked in there in a weird way, considering Mars comes in. A lot of the times when it comes to exercise recommendations, Mars days get vigorous to, what do you call, sometimes combative things to do, like sports, karate, and the like, to ostensibly excise their aggressive nature. Here, Mars is a little bit muted by Neptune. Neptune days are recommended grounding, what do you call it, kind of easy going exercise, like a walk in the park, things that also help embolden their dreams and fantasies. But you also have Mercury in there with the quickness of thought and change, so I would say it elevates it to vigorous again, or at least moderate to vigorous. So maybe take note of that. Flavor to taste, again, exercise any kind of pent up energy you got. But who's to say? There's so many vacillating energies in the mix. Maybe that's why they didn't even approach it. They had no idea what to say. As far as health is, or diet is concerned, Neptune-inspired folks, or influenced folks rather, they get grounding kinds of food recommendations to say grains, roots, vegetables, and the like. Try to cut out sugar and meat. But then with Mars, sometimes they're fine with the meat and the sugar. So again, it's a flavor to taste kind of situation. You got to try different things out. And maybe that's why they didn't bring it up. It was too complicated to try and get in there and figure out. Other days they say they can do whatever they want. Maybe that's the case here. Who's to say? But in any event, that's what I had to say about your health. Let's move on to some advice. All right, you get some advice on your birthday. Here we go. Keep calm, it says, all right? Never treat people as specimens, no matter how interesting they are to study. Cultivate your sensuous side and avoid being didactic and listen to others. And don't be so self-involved. All right. That's your advice. Quick, fast, down and dirty. I've seen longer. I've seen shorter, as it turns out. Let's get into it. Once again, I had to write it in a book, so bear with me. My writing's tiny here. What did I have to say about what they had to say? They said, keep calm. All right. Pointed advice, I would say. Mind your high-strung nervous energy, or at least your purported high-strung nervous energy. You don't want to chance mental burnout, I would say, because for you, that's your bread and butter, all right? Your curiosity, getting out there and figuring things out. Take some time to let that rest, I would say. Neptune's going to affect you one way or another from the sounds of it. I also said never treat people as specimens, all right? Very specific, otherwise common sense for a lot of us. Maybe not for you. Maybe you need to hear it, all right? It's rather on the nose of advice, and I'm assuming there must be some kind of historical precedent for it. Who's to say? But you run the risk of dehumanizing folks to some extent, and I don't know, kind of taking advantage or disregarding the person's value and probably their self-worth in the bargain. That's no way to make friends, right? Of all the different stripes that they said. So it's also a bad look, all right? Being the one who's doing as much, all right? So, yeah, don't treat people as specimens if you can help it. They also say cultivate a sensuous side, interestingly. So get curious about how to excite the senses, all right? Not just the mind, all right? It's a baked-in bargain there. One helps the other, so cultivate that, I would say. So really flesh out, if you like, knowing that more empiric experience in a different kind of way, if you like, with the fleshed out there. Also avoid being didactic, they said, or morally intrusive, if you define it out, and listen. You wouldn't want to be told how to live yourself, all right? So listen to others and consider how they might want to be treated, all right? Some golden rule type stuff. But also, what can you learn from them, even if you don't think it has any kind of value? All right, sometimes you might just be surprised what they bring to the table. They've got their own life experiences too, right? What did they bring to it? So don't be so self-involved, they said. Really drilling down on it today, I would say, all right? I'd say they want you to explore outside your comfort zone a little bit, though I think you do that in no small part. So this might just be reiteration, some kind of things to keep you on the tried and true path there. Self-involvement can also be unhealthy as well as a bad look. If you don't measure it. All right. And the through line themes for the book is being measured, moderation, balance, and cultivating self awareness. So I would say a lot of that stuff falls in line with those few things. In any event, that's been your advice. Pretty quick, fast, down and dirty, painless if you like, or maybe not if you have to actually drill down on such things and cultivate what they were advising. But who's to say? That's what it is. That said, with your advice in the can, let's move on to your meditation. That's right, it's your birthday. You get something to think on. Here we go. Within the microcosm and the macrocosm, there are worlds in their own time and space. Oh, I like this one. All right, a bit of a mouthful, so let's say it again here for you. Within the microcosm and the macrocosm, there are worlds in their own time and space. Well, all right. Don't quite know what to think of it. I have a little bit of an idea or an approach anyhow, but I'm not going to relate it, all right? It's your birthday, your meditation. I don't want to influence it one way or another for you. That would kind of defeat the purpose, me throwing my slant on it, if you like. So that said, that's your meditation in a can. Let's move on to your strengths and your weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where you got the girth and where you otherwise a little more atrophied. All right, your strengths. You're interesting. Hey, you know what? That comes with experience, right? Okay. You're versatile. Hey, you know what? Same argument. And you're caring. All right. Hey, we got a little bit of the idea that you weren't in a lot of cases. You're just there to study folks. So it's good to see it's a strength. But your weaknesses. Let's hold that objective mirror back up and flip it to the side that blows up your face. Maybe shows off the things you're otherwise a little superficially insecure about, like the pock marks that have carried through childhood because you picked your chickenpox scabs as a child even though your parents told you not to, but you was too curious to find out how to get rid of that itch. That's right, your weaknesses within the metaphor. All right, here we go. You're over-involved and you're voyeuristic. Oh, that was a pretty painless Band-Aid rip, I would say. All right, and you only got 2 on top of that. You know, most times it's 3. You know, that said, I often like to make a case that our strengths are going to help us improve upon our weaknesses if there's something that even need improved upon in the first place. But I also like to make the case that our weaknesses can be strengths in unto themselves. All right, it just depends on the situation and, you know, how you handle it, how you bring it to bear, if you like. So see if I can make a case here. You're interesting, all right? Hey, I would say you're going to find captivating ways to approach solving these particular issues or improving upon your weaknesses. You're also, you know what I'd say, if you're interesting, you're going to bring people in if you need any kind of help with this much, okay? Hey, you're interesting. Let's find out what's going on. For sure, I'm going to help you out. What are we doing today? The guy with the curious, the guy or the gal with the curious nature? Whoa, if they think it's interesting, let's get it. It says you're versatile. All right, you're going to have so many different tools in your tool bag to pull from to improve upon your weaknesses, if you like, all right? Ostensibly those that you picked up in your travels and experiences, all right? Because you're always out there learning. You're also caring, they said, all right? Does that relate to self-care as well? Let's hope so, all right? And if it does, that means you're going to take the time to make sure it's done correctly, I would say. But your weaknesses, what's the case to be made that those can be strengths? Over-involved. Hey, it can be a little bit of a bad look, right? That said, you put that on yourself, you're going to go and make sure that the things are getting done the way that they should be getting done. You're over-involved on yourself. It sounded like that was baked into the bargain throughout the read. But voyeuristic, that's an interesting one. How can that be a strength? Again, balance, moderation. You're out there seeing what's going on in the world. And that's just going to help bolster that tool bag again. What experiences are you drawing from? What are you bringing into the fore? What are you saving for later? All right, those tools that you need to improve upon weaknesses down the line. All right, so that's it. I don't know if I made the strongest case, but this seemed kind of straightforward, I would say, in a lot of cases within that particular paradigm. So hopefully we took something of value to think about. Who's to say? Or maybe you've got all that stuff handled already. That said, with your weaknesses, I often like to say, don't get rid of them altogether, because they're part of who you are. All right, they make you who you are. There, what captivating, if you like. So, strengths and weaknesses in the can. Let's move on to those born on this day. When we get into this, not only we get to see who shares your company, something I like to do is take it as an opportunity rather, to start examining something I find important, and that is figuring out our passions. That's right. Too often in life I get out and I meet folks, and out of curiosity I ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it. A lot of times they don't. And I think ultimately it just comes down to they got out of school, they needed to get right into a job and make ends meet. So they picked the first the first thing they can get into anyhow, so that they can make ends meet. And at the very root of it, it probably didn't have anything to do with anything they liked, let alone a passion. And I think it takes time, energy, and work to figure those kinds of things out for ourselves a lot of times. All right? Sometimes we don't even know what we like to do. And so in that respect also, we got to do as much. So I think this is the perfect opportunity to not only see who shares your company, but what they did to get in a book, and maybe we can take some inspiration from as much and start chasing our passions, all right? Because if there's anything I can wish you on your birthday, it's that you're doing backflips out of bed to get on with your day and do something fulfilling, something that just keeps you going, all right? So let's get into it here. We have Akira Kurosawa, the Japanese master film director responsible for Rashomon, Seventh Samurai, and Ran. We have Dane Rudhyar, a French-American astrologer, philosopher, and music theorist, as well as a psychologist, and responsible for the astrology of the personality. We also have Pierre-Simon Laplace, a French scientist and responsible for Mécanique Céleste. And if you're hearing whistling, that's not your imagination. There's somebody out there training a dog. It's bothering me. So if it's bothering you, just understand I'm with you on the same page. Back to it. We also have Werner von Braun, that's right, the German-U.S. rocket scientist. We also have Hermann Staudinger, a German Nobel Prize-winning chemist, and the macromolecule is something that they're responsible for, or at least worked on. We also have Roger Bannister, the British miler, and the first to break the 4-minute barrier. Also a neurologist, and it says an Oxford Don. Were these folks curious? I don't know. Keep it in mind. We'll see. Were they gamblers? I don't know. We're going to have to see. The historical precedents, if you like. Continuing on, Joan Crawford, the film actress, William Smith, a British geologist and father of British geology, so curious about rocks if you like, Eric Fromm, a psychoanalyst, writer, and the arts of loving. And here we go with the psychologists and such, and you know what, curious about the people there, so maybe that's baked in there where they got it from. Juan Gris, a Spanish cubist painter, sculptor, book illustrator, stage, and costume designer. Shaka Khan, singer and songwriter. Moses Malone, basketball center, NBA 6-time rebound leader, and a 4-time NBA first team and 3-time MVP. We also have Fanny Farmer, 19th century cook. Amanda Plummer, stage and film actress. Maynard Jackson, an Atlanta mayor. We also have Hayes Jenkins, a 4-time Olympic champion figure skater and an Olympic gold medalist, and brother of David and married Carol Heiss. We also have Julia Holmes, another ice skating champ. There we go. The flying with the mercurial speed there, if you like. Milton Senn, S-E-N-N, Senn, might be pronounced different, I don't know. Pediatric psychiatrist, here we go again. Yale Child Studies Center head. All right, don't treat them as specimens, remember? Oh, you didn't learn that lesson there. Old Milton. We also have Robert B. Sargent. They got a J instead of a G for Sargent. British Arabist, traveler, writer of South Arabian Hunt. And finally, Joseph Kopek, Czech modern painter, and died Bergen-Belsen. Not quite sure what that means, but that's what it says. That said, I know it's a big-ass tall order to take inspiration from other folks and what they did, but hey, if I can just put the bug in your ear about as much, start stirring up the fires of inspiration, then my work is done, all right? That's what I can hope for you on your birthday. That said, I know I mispronounced a few names there. It's not done in malice, so let's just butcher some things on my side to make up for it. Hooked on phonics just doesn't always work for me with the names there, or reading in general in a lot of cases, as you saw. But that said, that essentially rounds out your birthday reading. All right, so I know it's a big ass tall order to take inspiration from other folks, what they did. But again, hey, I hope I'm stirring up the inspiration for you if you don't have a passion in your life. And if you do, well, then the hat I'm not wearing is off to you. That said, finally, to take us out, your season is spring. Your sign, once again, is Aries of the Pisces Aries Cusp. Like I said, one of the last few days of it. And your quality and elements is Cardinal Fire. I got other videos on the channel that explain all those things, so if you're interested, dive in. They're there in the playlists and such. But this has been March 23rd, the day of curiosity. Don't know that we drilled down on why they got the compass and the egg in there, ostensibly wood or gold, who's to say, but that was the representation, all right? I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up a copy. It makes an excellent coffee table book, help you crack the ice if you ever have any company over. Those people that you want to study, see their reaction to as much, hey, maybe that piques your curiosity, who's to say. But that affiliate link is right above a personal message I like to put together for the birthday boys and girls, ladies and gents. So at least go and check that out if you're interested. That said, I just want to relate once again the book. That's not all too important, but what is important? Wishing you a happy birthday. So happy birthday once again. It was a pleasure to share your time and a privilege to celebrate your birthday with you. But that said, for everybody else who joined us randomly or, out of interest, or to celebrate, that's right, to celebrate the birthday, well, hey, hope you enjoyed yourselves, took something of value from it, even though it's not your birthday. And I hope to see you for your birthday reading. That's it before I take us out, and I'm getting long in the tooth here. I just want to remind you, your daily numbers. That's right, get out there and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. Start stacking up coincidences, noticing things, see, taste, touch, smell, intuit, hear a little bit of the magic, and you're going to understand why I brought it up. Hopefully you can get out there and get your hair blown back for your birthday by the synchronicities or the coincidences, if that wasn't clear already. That said, once again, all right, happy birthday. All right, stay curious. I know that won't be hard for you, but make sure people aren't specimens, all right? Find your wooden or brown eggs and find the gold in it, all right? That intrinsic value. It's perfect, all right? That's your purpose from the sounds of it, and hey, it's a great one, I would say. All right, so keep stacking up those experiences, that empirical nature, and have a happy birthday, all right? Take care.